Good evening. This side, Rahul Magan here. Today, I'm going to be covering a topic which is little technical and there is a lot of interpretation issue as far as this topic is concerned. But before I initiate my deliberations, let me confirm that we must see, not should, must see this topic from a broader perspective. We must see this topic from a very big and enlarged perspective. If we wish to see this topic from a very restrictive view, or very small or very bird eye view, in this eventuality we are losing the sense of this topic. To my opinion, if we are linking this video with any corporate or any stock or any specific country, in this eventuality, the risk is yours because I am discussing a broad concept as a broad feature. We all know that when it comes to corporate, then there are two critical indicators generally people evaluate. Now, one is titled as price to earning ratio. On the contrary, second is titled as price to book ratio. Now, we all know that I strongly feel that when we found a company, we decide the authorized capital of that company. This decision of how much would be the authorized capital, how much would be the paid up capital, and how much would be the called capital or uncalled capital would vest with the founders or the promoters of that company. And in my respectful submission, this is absolutely right. There is nothing wrong in that. But having said that, the founders of the company need to consider one important thing, which is the book value of the share, or it is also known as the face value of the share. Now, that face value of the share sometimes kept at a throwaway price. Example, $2, 2 GBP, 1 euro, half cent, maybe lesser than that. And this not only creates a problem for that company in the long run, but also cites a big issue as the time progresses. Henceforth, the book value or the face value of the stock should be decided having a very thorough mindset and so on and so forth. Because there is a reason to it. And what is the reason to it? The reason is that if I decide my face value at an exorbitant level, say $1,000, and my company not been able to perform in competitive market, could be n number of reasons, then forget making profit. I will not be able to reach, or the market price of my company will not be able to reach the book value of the share. On the contrary, if I keep my book value very low, $1, $2, $3, and suppose I perform very well, in this eventuality, the market price per share to book value per share, which is also known as price to book ratio, would be many times of the book value. Maybe 60 times, 70 times, some cases 200 times, and so on and so forth. This will trouble my valuation in long and short term both. Now, the biggest question here is that what should be the appropriate price of the face value? Once again, in law, there is a word called straight jacket formula. There is no straight jacket formula for that, because that completely depends on the thought process of the promoters when it comes to the authorized capital, the paid up capital, the non-paid up capital, the called capital, the uncalled capital, and so on and so forth. And also that completely depends on the view of the promoters when it comes to how much warrants they wanted to give, how much ESOP they wanted to give, what is the ESOP policy of that company, how easily employee can convert the ESOP into money. So there are n number of factors. So there should not be a straight jacket formula. But having said that, when we found a company for the sake of profit. Now, when I'm using a word profit, I mean to say using legal means. Now, that profit is the competency of that company. Now, the company may be operating in XYZ space, but the competency of that company determines the profits. And that profits determine the market capitalization of that company. Ladies and gentlemen, it is quite strange to see that I speak with my friends within India and outside India. And when I'm using a word market capitalization, it is always unfortunate for me to listen that market capitalization means when the company is listed in nature. And I always feel that, what are they talking? Because my friends feel that, market capitalization means if you are listed in nature, whatever stocks, free float shortly into the market price per share. No, ladies and gentlemen, even if you are unlisted in nature, there is a market price to your share. Of course, in many countries of the globe, it is called the gray market, and it is hard to say that the gray market is fully regulated, because there are many countries of the globe where gray market never been regulated. But all the unlisted companies of the globe, based upon their capability, and when I'm using a word capability, means operating capability, can have the market price of their stocks, which in few cases I found out is much higher than the listed stocks, than their competitors who are listed in nature. Henceforth, I always disregard that XYZ company in XYZ country is listed. Henceforth, it holds the more value than PQR company in PQR country who is unlisted in nature. Because the company market capitalization must not depend upon the market price. But that's also a hard reality that a smart entrepreneur, if it holds the the authorized capital of 100 shares, or say the face value is $2, assuming, so $200, or take it $10, take it 100 into 10, which is $1,000, then he only called 150 or max $200, max. But when we talk about price to earning ratio, we have to see the fully diluted basis. Now, fully diluted means all the warrants, ESOPs, or convertible, or any kind of equity linked instrument, it should be converted to equity. Now, it is not that you need to convert this into equity. So, assuming you issue the warrants, which is about 10% of your capital, and the maturity of that warrant is 5 years down the line, assuming. So, when we calculate fully diluted basis, that doesn't mean that we'll ask the company or the company himself, do the buyback of the warrants, or give equity, or convert the warrants on a prematurely basis. No, we assume that what if all the warrants would convert into equity? That is an assumption, and technically that is known as the fully diluted basis. But in my respectful submission, EPS is generally, earning per share is generally the basic EPS. And in books and all, basic EPS is taught. Then we are having diluted EPS, which means the impact of all outstanding warrants, convertibles, so on and so forth, is excluded from that impact. And then it is called adjusted EPS, because adjusted EPS is unfortunately not synchronized, which means that there is no unique formula of adjusted EPS. Different regulators of the globe have their own formula, and in few countries, even the formula is not written in nature. So, speaking about adjusted EPS is something we can't cover. But what in my respectful submission, is the fully diluted EPS, which means what would all warrants, convertibles, or any other equity linked instrument convert into equity. It would happen or not, that's I'm not saying. Time will tell, but what I'm saying is that we assume that we need to convert this into equity. That is why we call it a fully diluted business. My respectful submission is price to earning ratio on a fully diluted basis is always a better indicator than price to book ratio. But this is much easier said than done because to calculate a fully diluted basis, we need to work out extremely hard. Sometimes the company issue warrants, sometimes futures, ESOPs, options, and many other things, and it is very hard for any valuer person to reach to a correct estimation that this is something the valuation at a fully diluted basis. So approximation is always possible in a fully diluted basis also, but I strongly feel that if we take fully diluted basis, because even if we are taking fully diluted, we are taking the impact of top line, bottom line, and middle line, then the valuation would be the perfect valuation. But it is a hard valuation, which means not a cakewalk. This is what I wanted to say in this short video. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Rahul Magan. You have my number 9899242978. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.